Hello everybody. I thought today I would show you a set of postcards that I bought back in the late 1970s, and at the time we were living in Germany as a family, and we went across to the United Kingdom a couple of times. We went across by ferry from Ostend to Dover once or twice, but we also used the Hovercraft once, and we went from Calais to Ramsgate. And I bought these particular postcards there, as you can see here. I've got 4 of them. This is my old postcard album here from the 1970s. And it was quite an interesting journey. I've never been in a hovercraft before or since. I believe the hovercraft kind of went into service in 1969, and I believe they lasted up until the very early 2000s. And it's been over 20 years now since the service has been cancelled. There are still hovercrafts here in the United Kingdom, I believe. You can use our hovercraft to get to the Isle of Wight, but I'm not quite sure about that. Anyhow, this is the particular one that I went across, one of these. They all had different names. This one here is Surf, and the other one is Swift. I think there were several of these. And we were living in Bavaria at the time, and my father wanted to take a trip on the hovercraft. So we drove from Bavaria all the way up to Calais, and then took the hovercraft across to Ramsgate and then up to Scotland for our annual vacation at the time. I think they were very nice, colourful postcards. They would have really caught my eye when I was a kid. I would have been probably about 11, 12 when I bought these cards. They're English cards. I would imagine I bought these in Ramsgate rather than in Calais, and I wouldn't have had any French money to pay for them in Calais anyhow. I would have had some British money left over from our previous holidays in the United Kingdom. And it's quite a nice postcard at the top there. It has a little map showing the route from Calais to Ramsgate, and has the internal photograph there. It was very much like an airplane, I suppose, in many ways. You had stewardesses there, but it also took passenger cars, and as you can see, it has a trailer, or what the British call a caravan, attached to that car, and also took foot passengers. And you can see the foot passengers coming out of the entrance there on the side. But I believe if you had a car, you went down an internal staircase into the I suppose you could call it a car parking lot or whatever, to get back into the car. I don't really remember too much about the actual journey itself. It only lasted about 40 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes or so. It was very fast, considering it took about 4 hours to go by ferry from Ostend to Dover. That's the terminal in Ramsgate. It's called the International Hoverport. I do remember that Viking boat there in Ramsgate. The road went up and then onto the main road up there, and it passed that particular one. Yeah, I don't remember the details, obviously, but I do remember seeing that particular replica of a Viking longboat. I have no idea if it's still there or not. I mean, it's been more than 40 odd years since I've been in Ramsgate, and we were just passing through. I just think these postcards are really colourful. They really kind of sum up the 1970s for me. And while I was there, I also got a brochure, which is here. So it's called Hoverloid, and I picked that up on the Ramsgate Calais service. It opens up quite nicely. So the front of it, I suppose, you got a panoramic view of a hovercraft coming into the hoverport. There's a little map here of Europe and the United Kingdom. So we kind of lived up there somewhere north of Munich at the time, and we drove. I don't remember that we drove through Luxembourg. I can't remember that, but we drove through Brussels onto Calais. I think we actually went to northern France and then through, I can't really remember. It's been a long time ago, but I know we went through Brussels because I saw the Atom there, that big 1950s building, and got to Calais. We waited in Calais for a while, and I remember going around, getting out of the car in a hoverport, and there were a few old German fortifications there from the Second World War. They were very interesting, obviously, for a kid like me to kind of explore. Anyhow, we got onto the Hovercraft, and it took us across to Ramsgate, and then we continued from there. This particular brochure isn't dated, but it is from the 1970s here. It's quite a nice one. It really gives a romantic view of the hovercraft experience. So here it says Hovercraft. The Hoverloyd's modern hoverports at Ramsgate and Calais are very easily accessible. Just check in at least 30 minutes before departure, and 80 minutes later you're motoring in France, or in our case in the United Kingdom. Both hoverports have all the facilities of major international air terminals, including banking, restaurants, bars, snack bars, duty and tax-free shops. I don't remember any of that, to be quite honest, but obviously I must have bought my postcards in one of the souvenir shops there. And this one here says, boarding the craft couldn't be easier, and in minutes you're off. All flight crew, including a captain, first officer, and navigator. Each captain holds a master mariner's certificate, and on the car deck, 5 attendants will be caring for your car. And then as you sit back and enjoy your flight, it's funny how they call it a flight, you'll be looked after by a cabin crew of 8 stewardesses offering duty-free goods and drinks during the flight. And disembarkation is as easy as coming aboard. So there were 8 stewardesses on the hovercraft. So I would imagine it would have been 4 on either side, because you had the 2 sides here. You had the bit in the middle where all the cars were parked, and the cabin up there for the pilot. And then on either side you could sit. I remember sitting by the window. It had quite large windows, kind of like bus windows, I guess. But once you got on the actual water, you couldn't really see very much. There was a lot of spray being brought up. I remember that much going across. It was going at full speed, and after a while you couldn't really see anything out of the windows, at least not when I was there. But I really do love these photographs here. You've got the duty-free, all the cigarettes and the whiskey and everything else. Kind of brings up a romantic time. I mean, I do kind of miss the 1970s. It was a special time, I think, growing up. Certainly had all these kind of fancy goods and everything else, and people were, I think, looking forward to a better way, a better standard of living at the time. They had gone through World War II, they had gone through the 1950s and 60s, and the early oil crisis of the early 70s, and there was a little bit of optimism in the air. I remember that much. You got a picture of the stewardess here. And again here, and there's, I guess, the captain or one of the crew here. I certainly don't remember us being offered any drinks, anything like that. I don't think that happened with us here. But I quite enjoyed my little ride. It's a memory, a nice memory of the time. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. So that's my 1970s Hoverloyd, Hovercraft, brochure, and postcards. But thanks for now, and bye for now.